is Kayla Rogers, and I am an Education and Outreach Coordinator for the Women's Fund. In today's presentation, we are going to be talking about nutrition and shopping on a budget. So we have a nutrition presentation already, and we have a shopping on a budget presentation. So it's pretty fun to kind of put these two things together, and I hope that you really enjoy this. So a little about the Women's Fund for those of you who may be new here or you don't know much about our organization. We are a nonprofit in Houston dedicated to providing women and girls with the tools that they need to be advocates for their own health. And we do this through focused seminars like today's presentation, curriculum-based classes, and publication. So all of our publications, all of our classes are free. If you're interested in receiving copies of our publications, you can visit our website, thewomensfund.org, or use this QR code and download our publications for free. If you'd like physical copies, there is a page that you can fill out on our website to request physical copies of our publications. We are currently not in the office, but when we return, we are more than happy to fill those publication orders for you. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn off my camera just because I want I don't want to have any issues with my presentation and it not picking up on my voice. So we're going to get started here. So the agenda for today, we're going to talk about nutrition, what it is. We have some definitions to go over. We'll also be talking about how to read a nutrition label, which is so very important, especially when it comes to nutrition, being able to understand what it is that's in the food that you're eating. We're going to talk about shopping on a budget, and then we'll discuss overcoming barriers. There are so many barriers that may come to mind for you already when you think about eating healthy. So we're going to talk about barriers, and then we'll have a review and closing. If you see this little text bubble come up at all during the presentation, that means that I'm looking for your participation. So I will be asking a question, and feel free to answer that question in the chat. I will be checking the chat. So if you have any questions throughout the presentation, or if you want to participate when I ask for participation, the chat is the place to do that. After this session, I hope that you'll be able to differentiate between serving and portion sizes. These are words that we hear often, but we're going to find out if you know exactly what they mean. Identify 3 benefits of eating a healthy diet. Identify the 5 main food groups, and demonstrate how to read a nutrition label. Okay, so our first opportunity for participation is with our vocabulary. So what is your definition of nutrition? What would be your definition of nutrition, or what comes to mind when you hear nutrition? Healthy eating, eating energy for your body. Okay, awesome. Vitamins that fuel humans. Okay. Okay, these are great answers. So, nutrition is the process by which our bodies take in and utilize food. So basically, it's a process by which we are nourishing our bodies. And the second question is, what is your definition of nutrients? Nutrients, we hear this word a lot, but what are nutrients? I'm going to stick with vitamins. That's a good thing to stick to. Okay, vitamins, minerals. Yes. So nutrients are the vitamins, minerals, proteins, and other components present in food that are necessary for good health and also are really important for proper growth and development. So, the nutrients are those things in our food that keep us healthy. Okay. So, now I'm going to ask you to participate a little bit more. And I want to know if you know the difference between a serving and a portion. So, what would you say the difference between a serving and a portion is? This one is a little more tricky. Okay, not sure. I feel like these words are kind of thrown around interchangeably sometimes, but they are definitely not the same thing. Okay, what you serve yourself, serving size is the food, and portion is how much it takes to eat. Okay, okay, so a serving is the amount uh, of food recommended for each food group. So the serving is the amount that is recommended for a food group, whereas the portion refers to the specific amount that you choose to eat. So an example would be that a recommended serving of whole grains would be for pasta would be half a cup of pasta. That is the serving. That is the recommended amount. If I eat a full cup of pasta, that would be my portion because that is how much I'm choosing to eat. So the serving is what is recommended. The portion is how much you actually eat. Okay, so next, I want to know if you can tell me the five major food groups. And if you don't know all five, or if you can't think of all five, that's perfectly fine. Um, but what are the five major food groups, or what food groups can you think of? Veggies, right? Vegetables, fruits, protein, grains, fruits and veggies, dairy, meat. Okay, awesome. Thank you for participating. So we have fruits, vegetables, grains, dairy, and protein. So these are the five major food groups. And we're going to be discussing each of these food groups in a little more detail here shortly. But first, I want to go over why it is important to have a healthy eating pattern. We always hear that it's important that we eat a healthy diet, but why? So the reason behind this is that foods in different food groups contain different nutrients. So there is no one magic food that you can eat that is going to be able to give you all of the essential nutrients that your body needs in order to be healthy and to function efficiently. So therefore, you need a variety of foods from each of the food groups because each is going to offer you different nutrients. So if you eat a variety, you're more likely to provide yourself with all of the nutrients that your body needs. Oh, I don't know why that did that, but food is a primary source of nutrients. And a healthy eating pattern is important to maintain health as well as a sensible body weight. So a balanced diet is important, obviously, to maintain our health, but also maintain a sensible body weight. So the first food group that we're going to be discussing is grains. And examples from this food group could be a bagel or bread, rice, or even quinoa. So there are some great health benefits associated with whole grains. And one is that they reduce the risk, or they help to reduce the risk of heart disease. as well as high blood pressure and help with managing cholesterol. Another is that they can help with weight management. And third, they can reduce constipation. Another really interesting thing about grains, whole grains specifically, is that they're digested slowly, which has beneficial effects on blood sugar and insulin, and therefore can help reduce the risk of type 2 diabetes. So daily recommendations for those who are 14 to 50 would be 6 ounces, and for 51 and older, it would be 5 ounces per day. And you want to try to make at least half of your grains whole grains. So if you see this little image in the bottom right corner, this is the My Plate, and it just kind of shows you how ideally your plate would be set up so that you're getting all of the nutrients that you need from your foods. So it shows you that grains here are taking up a little more than a fourth of the plate. Next, we have vegetables. So vegetables include corn, broccoli, cucumbers, bell peppers. There's a ton of yummy vegetables. I really like Brussels sprouts lately, although I know that's not a very popular vegetable for most. But vegetables have a lot of really great health benefits. So one is that they reduce the risk of heart disease, including heart attack and stroke, and help to keep blood pressure lower. They protect against infection and certain types of cancer, help decrease bone loss, and they're good for healthy skin, hair, and eyes. So with vegetables, the daily recommendation is 2.5 cups for those 14 to 50, and 51 and older is 2 cups per day. Then we move on to fruits. So fruits, examples, apples, bananas, strawberries, pears, grapes. Again, there are a ton of different fruit options. Health benefits include reducing the risk of heart disease and lowering blood pressure. Daily recommendations here for those who are 19 to 30 is 2 cups, and 31 and older is 1.5 cups. So fruits tend to be one of the more popular food groups because they're sweet and they're just so delicious. Next food group, protein, includes lean beef, lean pork, not port, I apologize, and even beans. Health benefits here are that protein helps with building bones, muscle, and cartilage, and again, can reduce the risk of heart disease. So I don't know if you've noticed a trend yet, but these healthy foods really help with reducing risk for heart disease, which is one of the leading causes of death. The daily recommendations for those 19 to 30 is 5.5 ounces, and 31 and older would be 5 ounces. So a lot of people have this idea that protein, only comes from beef, but you can find protein in eggs, you can find protein in beans, as well as different nuts and seeds as well. And then we have the dairy group. So the examples here are cheese, milk, and yogurt. All fluid milk products and many foods made from milk that retain their calcium content are considered a part of the dairy group. Foods from milk that have little to no calcium, such as cream cheese, cream, and butter, are not considered a part of the dairy group. So if you're trying to make sure that you're getting enough dairy, you want to make sure that you're eating foods that retain their calcium content. Health benefits here are reduce the risk of osteoporosis. So osteoporosis is a disease that causes the bones to become fragile and more likely to fracture. And this is typical for older individuals, most frequently in postmenopausal women. And so it's so important that you are getting adequate intake of calcium in combination with vitamin D to practice preventative. This is a preventative measure that you can take to prevent osteoporosis. So daily recommendations for ages 9 to 18 is 3 cups, and then 19 and older is also 3 cups. So those were the 5 main food groups, but we know that there are other things in our foods. And so I wanted to touch on fat, sugar, and sodium. So for fat, you want it to be less than 10% of calories from saturated fat. And we are going to talk about the different types of fats a little later on. For sugar, less than 10% of calories from added sugars. So some foods that we eat have natural sugars, but you want to be paying close attention to those added sugars. And then for sodium, less than 2,300 milligrams. So something to consider is your beverages. Keep in mind that when we think about nutrition, I know we tend to think about food, but the things that we drink are also impacting the nutrients that we're getting. So choosing, healthier things to drink like water or milk over things that have a lot of added sugars like sodas or juices. I also wanted to touch on vitamins and minerals here. So all vitamins and minerals are important for good health, and they tend to work together in your body. Each vitamin and mineral has specific benefits, and it's essential for keeping your body functioning well. So each vitamin and mineral has a specific role that it is playing in your body to keep you healthy and to keep your body functioning. There are some vitamins and minerals that women need more of than men do, and we're going to be talking about 5 of these here shortly. And it's usually best to get your vitamins and minerals from many different types of food in all of the food groups. So it's best for you to eat a well-balanced, well-rounded, healthy diet, but sometimes you will have to turn to supplements in order to get the vitamins and minerals that your body needs. And that is a conversation that you would need to have with a physician. Okay, so now we're going to go over those 5 vitamins and minerals that women tend to need more of than men. And the first is folic acid. So folic acid helps your body make blood cells and the DNA for new cells, as well as helping to prevent certain birth defects, premature births, and low birth weight. So those who may need it are all women who might get pregnant. If you are of reproductive age and you are able to conceive, then you should be more conscious about your folic acid intake. And I'm not going to read everything on the far side of this table, but here are some of the sources of folic acid. So you can see there are fruits and vegetables on there. There are some meats, some nuts as well. So there are a ton of different places or in multiple food groups in which you can get folic acid. The next is vitamin B12, and this helps your body make red blood cells and helps your neurons, the cells in your brain and nervous system, work correctly. So those who may be at more of a need are pregnant women, as vitamin B12 is important for the unborn baby's development, and vegetarians. Vitamin B12 comes mostly from animal products, and so you may have to supplement in vitamin B12 in order to get enough. And that's a conversation that you would have again with a physician. And then those who are age 50 or older. And this is because as we age, our bodies cannot absorb vitamin B12 as well. And so in order to get more vitamin B12, you may have to turn to supplements or fortified foods that are easier to absorb. So as you can see, most of the sources are those animal products. Vitamin D is important because it helps, along with calcium, to build strong bones and prevent osteoporosis, which we discussed. It helps reduce inflammation in your cells, and it helps your immune system fight off germs that can make you sick. So vitamin D is very important for us. Those who may need it, women who do not get much sunlight or are a minority, are postmenopausal or obese, have an inflammatory bowel disease or another disease that makes it hard for the gut to absorb fat, as vitamin D is a fat soluble vitamin that is absorbed in the gut. So if you have a condition that makes it difficult for that, you may need more. And then if you've had a gastric bypass surgery, which is a weight loss surgery. Next, we have calcium. Helps protect and build strong bones and reduce the risk of osteoporosis in combination with vitamin D, especially as we talked about. And it helps messages go between your brain and the muscles. So adult women, it's recommended 1,000 milligrams of calcium each day. However, after menopause, that goes up to 1,200 milligrams of calcium each day to help slow the bone loss that comes naturally with aging. And so as we discussed earlier, calcium can be found in dairy foods, but it can also be found in dark green leafy vegetables as well. And then the last that we have is iron, which builds healthy blood cells that carry oxygen in your body and helps make certain hormones and connective tissue in your body. So many women, especially pregnant women, do not get enough iron from their diet alone. And this can put them at risk for iron deficiency anemia, a condition that causes your heart to work harder to pump blood so that more oxygen can reach all of your body. So typically people who suffer from anemia feel really tired, weak, and may also feel dizzy. So recommendations, ages 19 to 15 would be 18 milligrams during pregnancy, 2 to 7, and after the age of 51, 8. But this is just definitely something that you would want to talk about with your physician. They'll be able to let you know if you have to add supplements into your diet. Okay, so how do we know what nutrients are in the foods that we eat, or what nutrients the foods we eat contain? We look at a nutrition label. So the nutrition label has a ton of really helpful information, and I'm going to show you 5 things that you should really pay attention to when looking at a nutrition label. So the first step is to check the serving size and the number of servings. Serving sizes are standardized to make it easier to compare the nutrient content in similar foods. And they're also provided in familiar units such as cups or pieces. So when you look at the nutrition label, you first want to check the serving size and the number of servings. It's important to know that the nutrition label displays nutritional information for 1 serving only. And so the calories and nutrients will vary based on how many servings you consume. The cup, then you're eating more than a serving. And so let's say that I have 2 servings of this food. I would have to multiply the calories by 2, because right now it's only showing the nutritional information for 1 serving size, but I had 2. And so I would have to increase the calories as well as the other nutritional content. The second step is to check the calories. So many people think calories are bad for us or that they make us fat, when in reality, calories are units of energy. Consuming more calories than we use on a consistent basis is when your body transforms those extra calories into fat. So you may be asking, well, what does our body use calories on? And the answer is essentially everything. So our lungs use energy to breathe, our heart uses energy to beat, our brains use energy to think and to dream. And if you're wondering, well, how much energy do our bodies actually need, or how many calories should I be eating each day? Scientists and doctors have determined that the amount of energy we need depends on several factors, and this includes our sex, our age, our height, our weight, and how physically active we are each day. And so I have a QR code later on in the presentation to the MyPlate page, but I think that is such a really great resource to use. On one of their pages, they have a space for you to go in and add information about yourself. So your sex, your age, your height, your weight, and your physical activity level. And based on that, they give you a recommended daily calorie intake. So that's really, really awesome. So in this one serving, there are 230 calories. And so in the entire container, we would have to remember to multiply that 230 by 8, and that would be 1,840 calories in the entire container. The third step is to check fats, cholesterol, and sodium content. So even though there is a recommended daily amount for these things, we want to limit foods that are high in fats, cholesterol, and sodium, as this may help lower cholesterol and reduce the risk of heart disease. And so even though we do need these things, I'm not saying you should completely eliminate these things from your diet, because a small amount of these things are needed. We just want to make sure that we're limiting foods that are high in these things, which can be kind of hard because you may not realize how much fat or sodium you're taking in if you're not paying attention to that nutrition label. So speaking of fats, there are four major types of dietary fats. And these are saturated fats, trans fats, polyunsaturated fats, and monounsaturated fats. So each has a different chemical structure and physical properties, and that is what makes them different. The first two on the list, saturated fats and trans fats, are considered bad fats. And these fats tend to be solid at room temperature, while the unsaturated fats, the two on the bottom of the list, tend to be more liquid at room temperature. So you may be asking, well, why are saturated and trans fats, why are they considered the bad fats? Well, it's because they raise your bad cholesterol, or your low density lipoprotein, commonly referred to just as LDL. So they raise your LDL, which, if you have higher levels of LDL, can lead to heart disease. Whereas the unsaturated fats lower your LDL levels and are considered beneficial when consumed as a part of a healthy diet. So if you look at some of the examples for saturated and trans fats, you have fatty meats, lard, butter, cheese, fried foods. You'll find trans fats in a lot of baked goods and packaged foods, whereas polyunsaturated and monounsaturated fats are, plant-based oils and olive oil, avocados, nuts, and seeds. These are healthier places to get fats. Okay, so the fourth thing that you want to look at is carbohydrates and nutrient content. So for carbohydrates, look at percent coming from dietary fiber. And nutrient content means looking for foods that are rich in vitamins, calcium, and iron. These are actually identified as nutrients to get more of, because Americans generally do not get the recommended amount. So these nutrients promote good health and may protect you from disease. So you want to look for things that have higher amounts of, vitamins, calcium, and iron. And then how many grams of carbohydrates are here? We have 37. Okay. So reading the nutrition label, this is our last slide, slide 5, or step 5, and that's looking at the percent daily value footnote. So this is going to be down here, usually in the bottom of the nutrition label. And this is a guide to help you link nutrients in a serving of food to their contribution to your daily diet. It helps you to determine if a food is high or low in an amount of a nutrient, and it can be used to make dietary trade-offs with other food throughout the day. So if I eat a food earlier in the day that has, high levels of sodium, maybe I'll be more cautious and pick lower items containing lower amounts of sodium later on throughout the day. So looking at that percent daily value can help you to kind of make trade-offs throughout the day and kind of eat a more balanced diet. When you're looking at the percent daily value, 5% or less of a nutrient per serving is considered low, and 20% or more of a nutrient per serving is considered high. So that can kind of help you gauge, well, it says 7%. Is that good? Is that bad? Right? That can kind of help you gauge. You want to look for a higher percent daily value for dietary fiber, vitamin D, calcium, iron, and potassium, and then lower percent daily value for saturated fats, sodium, and added sugars, those things that we have already talked about limiting. Okay, so for more information on any of the food groups, daily recommendations, recommendations for calorie intake per day, recipes, there's just so much information on the MyPlate website, and that is that QR code to the far left. In the middle, I've added a QR code to our publication, Which Way, which is a healthy lifestyle publication, and there's a lot of information here about nutrition and healthy eating. And then the final QR code is to the FDA.gov, and it just goes into more detail about reading a nutrition label. Okay, so now we're going to move into shopping on a budget. And this was fun for me because I have been trying to be better about shopping on a budget, especially in these last few months. And so I think the biggest thing here is creating a grocery game plan. And the first step is to plan weekly meals. Take the time to plan out what it is that you're going to eat for the week. Look at what you already have in your pantry, in your fridge, in your freezer before you go shopping, and plan meals around things that you already have. That way you're not wasting food and you're spending less money when you go to the grocery store. Also, when you're thinking about your plan or planning your meals, look for cost-effective ways to extend meals. So one example could be adding beans into ground beef and using the mixture for tacos. Because it's going to help you to stretch your food, right? And beans are typically a cost-effective way to do that. The next is to make a grocery list and a budget. So making a list is so important. When you open that fridge or your cabinet and you think about all of the foods that you have and you plan meals around those things, then making a list is the next step. You're writing down exactly what it is that you need. So that way, when you get to the store, you're not there trying to think about what it is that you need. You're saving time, and it can help you to stay on track and prevent you from adding unnecessary things into your cart. Also, before you go to the grocery store, think about how much it is that you want to spend and keep track of how much you're spending as you add things to your cart. If you do this, one, you're not going to be surprised when you get up to the register. And two, you'll be able to make decisions as you're shopping. So if I need, I don't know, eggs, for example, if I need eggs, then I can look at, oh, the eggs that I have been buying are this brand, but this brand is a little bit cheaper. Maybe I'll go for that because I'm getting kind of close to what I want to spend today. The third thing when creating your grocery store plan is to save more at the store by one, not shopping when you're hungry. When you shop and you're hungry, your eyes get into that grocery store and you just see so many things that look delicious. And the next thing you know, you're adding all these things into your cart that you don't really need, but they just look good right now. The second is to read sales flyers. So before you go to the store, take the time to look at that store's sale flyer and see what items are going to be on sale. And that may help you with planning your weekly meals as well. If you see that they have a really great deal on chicken, maybe you decide to plan some meals around chicken so that you can get that really great deal. The third thing is to use coupons. Don't be afraid to use coupons. Even though they may not seem like they're saving you a lot, they add up, right? And every penny counts. So finding coupons in like the mail, sometimes you get coupons in the mail. Also, after you grocery shop, they usually will hand you coupons with your receipt. And you can even download some of the store apps and try to find coupons that way. Buying in bulk when it makes sense. If there's an item that you go through a lot, it may make more sense for you to buy that item in bulk if it comes out to be cheaper than just buying it, in a regular size. So some things that I like to buy in bulk are pasta sauce from Sam's. They sell them in like a 3-pack for like $6. I buy that in bulk. Sometimes I'll buy rice or pasta in bulk because I know that I use it and that I can store it. And also it's pretty cheap even when it is in bulk. So some things, if it makes sense, buy in bulk. Next, buy store brands. Store brands are typically much cheaper, or even if it's a little bit cheaper, it's still cheaper than name brand items. And they really try to make the item as close to the name brand as possible. I know for some people, they're very specific and very picky about certain things. Like I only eat French's mustard. Okay, that's fine. But if you aren't that person who's super particular about name brands, or if there are some things that you really don't care about if it's name brand or not, buy the store brand. The next tip is to join store loyalty programs. I know Kroger specifically has a store loyalty program that is free. And if you are a member, you get additional savings and additional deals. And also, I know I am a member at Kroger and I get points when I shop. So not only am I getting discounts on the foods that I'm buying, but I'm gaining points that I can then use to save me money on gas. And then compare different store prices. I know not everyone is crazy like me, but I shop at multiple stores just because I find that some stores, I like their prices for meats or for produce better than others. So I personally shop at multiple stores. Usually what I'll do is I'll look at the sale ads for Kroger, for H-E-B, for Walmart, and I'll see what they have on sale, and then that will determine where I'm going to go grocery shop based on who has the best sale or who has the things that I need on sale. So don't be afraid to compare different store prices. And some stores even do price matching. So if, for example, I think Walmart does price matching. So if I go to Walmart and I'm buying something, but it's cheaper at Kroger, I think Walmart price matches. Check into that before you try it, but I'm pretty sure that they price match. Okay, so for each food group, I have specific tips for shopping and eating healthy on a budget. For fruits and vegetables, buy in season. In season are usually less expensive and they're at their peak flavor, but only buy what you're going to use, because if you buy more than you need, then it's going to spoil and you've essentially wasted money. The next tip is to buy canned or frozen. There's this misconception that fresh produce is always better, and that's not necessarily the case. Canned and frozen foods are usually picked at their peak, and they are cheaper sometimes than fresh produce. You can store them longer in your cabinet or in your freezer. Just make sure that if you're looking for canned food specifically, you're looking for products that are low sodium or no salt added. And for frozen foods, such as frozen vegetables, looking for those without added sauces or butters. If you are still concerned, you can always, I've heard people say like, yeah, I buy canned vegetables and then I just rinse them off before I cook them. So that's another option. For grains, rice and pasta are budget-friendly grain options. You can typically get a lot of these foods without having to spend a lot of money. For protein, I think people forget that beans and peas are a great way to add protein into your diet, and they typically tend to be on the cheaper side. You can buy family-sized or value packs of meat and freeze what you don't use. So when you buy those value-sized packs of meat, you're getting a lot of meat and it is at a discount, but maybe you don't need it all. That's fine. You can freeze that meat and then you can use it later. And then eggs are also another low-cost option in addition to beans and peas for protein. For dairy, choosing low-fat or fat-free milk, and then buying larger sized containers of yogurt as opposed to the individual containers. That is another way for you to save money. And you can also choose just like a basic flavor and then add in your own flavorings. So here are a list of some fruits and vegetables that are in season during the different seasons. If you would like a more extensive list, you can always visit the USDA.gov website and they have a seasonal produce guide. I'm not going to spend much time on this slide because we are running out of time. So I'm going to try to go a little more quickly through the rest of the slides. So I wanted to add in this slide because a lot of times people will say to me, well, eating healthy is it's hard, right? Because of all these reasons, time being a big one. And so one of the things that I would say is to prepare healthy meals, but also food prep. Food prep can save you a lot of time. And if you take a couple of hours, say on a Sunday afternoon, to meal prep for a couple of days, then in the middle of the week, if you don't feel like cooking, you've already cooked something for yourself, right? I know this was a big issue for me when I first moved on my own. I would spend so much money at the grocery store and then I would come home and not want to cook. And then I would just go out and buy fast food. That wasn't me eating healthy and it definitely wasn't me saving money. So I've started to meal prep. I double my recipes sometimes so that I know I will have leftovers to eat later on. And I also freeze some of my leftovers like soups. So these are some options if you're finding it difficult to eat healthy and on a budget. You can make pretty big meals for cheap depending on what it is that you're making. So just something to keep in mind. Another thing that I wanted to talk about is if you ever find yourself in a bind and need assistance with securing food, the Houston Food Bank is a great resource. I've added the link to their website, and also they have a spot on their website specifically for those who have been impacted by COVID-19. And so right now, the pandemic electronic benefit transfer, they've extended the deadline to July 31st. So if you know of anyone who is struggling to get food right now or needs any help now or anytime, the Houston Food Bank is a great resource. I will be sending out this flyer in the follow-up email from this presentation. So some of the barriers that we hear commonly to not eating healthy are, I don't like healthy foods, others in the household don't buy healthy foods are more expensive, my family is really busy and so fast food is the easiest way to eat dinner, I really like and crave sweet snacks and desserts, and the locations I spend a lot of time at do not offer healthy meals or snacks. So what I would say to this, if you don't like healthy foods, try to find a way to incorporate healthier foods into foods that you already like. So if you are making a smoothie, for example, instead of adding just fruit, mix in some kale or mix in some spinach. Find a way to mix in healthier foods into the foods that you're already eating. If others in the household don't buy healthy foods, or locations that you spend a lot of time at do not offer healthy meals or snacks, do what you can with what you have. Make the best choices with what you are given. So that may include cutting back your portion size. It may include drinking water with your meal instead of soda or juice, but making the most of what you have. Healthy foods can be more expensive. We did talk about this. Sometimes this is true, but remember there are those canned foods, frozen foods. There are ways that you can find healthy foods that are not as expensive. Family is really busy, and so fast food is easiest. This is one that I hear a lot. Again, meal prepping can definitely help with this. Also, don't let all of the burden be on you to make dinner. Ask for help from your family with meal prepping or even with cleanup, so that way it doesn't take as much of a toll. And then if you really like and crave sweet snacks and desserts, try opting for fruit instead. Fruit is sweet, it's a delicious treat, and it's healthier for you than, the cakes or the cookies. Not saying that you have to cut those things out, but eating them in moderation. So key takeaways from this presentation: having a healthy eating pattern. Foods in different food groups contain different nutrients, and that's why it's so important that you have a healthy eating pattern and you're eating a variety of foods from each food group. Studying the nutrition label can help you compare the nutritional value, keep track of calories and nutrients that you consume, and make healthier choices about the foods that you eat. When shopping on a budget, make sure that you make a list and you stick to it, and that you're looking for ways to save. Okay, so does anyone have any questions at this time? I'm gonna open my chat. Okay, so for questions or comments, if you don't have any at this time, but maybe you think of something later, definitely email us at healtheducator@thewomensfund.org, and we will be able to answer any of those questions that you have. This is a survey link. I will be sending it out in the follow-up email. The QR code for this